The Michelin-starred restaurant La Perla Dorada had been Madrid's most exclusive dining establishment for over 2 decades, a place where reservations were made months in advance and where celebrities, politicians, and business moguls gathered to see and be seen while enjoying what food critics consistently rated as some of the finest cuisine in Europe. The restaurant's reputation was built not just on its exceptional food, but on its discretion, its impeccable service, and its ability to provide an atmosphere where the wealthy and powerful could dine without intrusion. It was exactly the kind of place where Cristiano Ronaldo would take close friends when he wanted to celebrate special occasions away from the public eye. That evening, Ronaldo had arranged a private dinner to celebrate the birthday of one of his oldest and closest friends, Amari Hassan, a successful architect from Morocco who had designed several of Ronaldo's properties and had become like a brother to him over the years they had known each other. Amari was brilliant, cultured, and spoke 5 languages fluently, but none of that would matter to the restaurant's owner when he saw the color of Amari's skin and heard the Arabic accent that subtly colored his perfect Spanish. Ronaldo had specifically chosen La Perla Dorada because he wanted to give his friend an unforgettable experience, and he had personally spoken with the restaurant's manager to arrange special touches for the celebration. They had reserved the restaurant's most private dining room, ordered a custom birthday cake, and even arranged for Amari's favorite wine to be specially procured for the occasion. Everything had been planned meticulously to ensure a perfect evening between 2 friends who had shared countless adventures and supported each other through the various challenges of their respective careers. When they arrived at the restaurant, Ronaldo was dressed casually but elegantly, as was his custom for private dinners, while Amari wore a beautifully tailored suit that reflected his sophisticated taste and successful career. They approached the hostess stand together, laughing about a story Amari had been telling during their drive to the restaurant, their friendship evident in their easy conversation and mutual comfort. The hostess, recognizing Ronaldo immediately, greeted them with the practiced warmth that came from years of serving high-profile clientele. "Mr. Ronaldo, welcome back to La Perla Dorada. We have your private dining room prepared exactly as requested." But as she began to lead them toward their table, Carlos Mendoza, the restaurant's owner, emerged from his office and intercepted them near the entrance to the main dining room. Mendoza was a man in his 60s who had built his restaurant empire through a combination of culinary excellence and social connections, but who had also developed certain prejudices that he justified as business necessities for maintaining his establishment's exclusivity. "Cristiano," Mendoza said with the familiarity of someone who had hosted the football star numerous times, "wonderful to see you again. But I'm afraid there's been a small issue with your reservation." Ronaldo looked puzzled, glancing between Mendoza and the hostess, who had just confirmed that everything was ready. "What kind of issue, Carlos?" "We confirmed everything yesterday." Mendoza's eyes flickered toward Amari, and his expression subtly hardened. "Well, you see, tonight we're hosting several very important clients, including some government officials and international business leaders. The atmosphere needs to be appropriate for such distinguished guests. I'm sure you understand the delicate nature of maintaining the right ambiance for our most valued patrons." Ronaldo still didn't understand what Mendoza was implying, but Amari, who had experienced subtle discrimination throughout his life despite his success and education, recognized the coded language immediately. He placed a gentle hand on Ronaldo's arm, beginning to step back toward the exit. "Cristiano, perhaps we should try somewhere else tonight," Amari said quietly, not wanting to create a scene, but understanding that they were not welcome despite the reservation and advance planning. But Ronaldo was not willing to leave without understanding exactly what was happening. "Carlos, I don't understand. What exactly are you saying? We have a confirmed reservation, we've dined here many times before, and tonight is my friend's birthday celebration that we've been planning for weeks." Mendoza shifted uncomfortably, realizing that Ronaldo was not picking up on his subtle hints and that he would need to be more direct. "Cristiano, you're always welcome here, of course, but perhaps your friend would be more comfortable at one of our other establishments somewhere that caters to a more diverse clientele. We have several restaurants that would be perfect for this type of gathering." The words hung in the air like a slap. Ronaldo's expression changed from confusion to disbelief to a cold anger that those who knew him well would recognize as dangerous. Amari, mortified by the explicit nature of the discrimination, began to turn toward the door, but Ronaldo caught his arm. "No," Ronaldo said firmly, his voice carrying a quiet authority that immediately commanded attention from everyone within earshot. "We're not leaving. Carlos, are you seriously telling me that my friend is not welcome in your restaurant because of his race or nationality?" Mendoza's face flushed red as he realized that his attempt at subtle discrimination had failed and that he was now exposed in front of other diners who had begun to notice the commotion. "Cristiano, please don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. This is a business decision based on maintaining the comfort of all our guests. Surely you can understand the position I'm in." "The position you're in?" Ronaldo's voice was still quiet, but it carried a steel edge that made other conversations in the nearby area begin to stop as people turned to see what was happening. "Let me tell you about the position you're in, Carlos. You're in the position of a man who is about to refuse service to one of the most accomplished architects in Europe, a man who has designed buildings in 12 countries, who speaks 5 languages, who has more education and culture than most of your distinguished guests, simply because he happens to be from Morocco." The restaurant had grown noticeably quieter as Ronaldo's words carried throughout the dining room. Other patrons, many of whom recognized both Ronaldo and the uncomfortable situation unfolding, were watching with a mixture of fascination and horror. Several people had discreetly begun recording with their phones, understanding that they were witnessing something significant. Furthermore, Ronaldo continued, his voice now carrying clearly throughout the restaurant, "You're in the position of a man who is about to discover what happens when you insult someone I consider family in front of me. Amari is not just my friend, he's one of the finest men I know, and your inability to see past his nationality says everything about your character and nothing about his." Mendoza, realizing that the situation was spiraling beyond his control and that other diners were now openly listening to the confrontation, tried to backtrack. "Cristiano, please, there's been a misunderstanding. Of course your friend is welcome. Let me personally escort you to your table and ensure that everything is perfect for your celebration." But Ronaldo was not finished. "Oh, there's been no misunderstanding, Carlos. You've made your position perfectly clear. You were willing to accommodate me because I'm famous and bring prestige to your establishment, but you wanted to exclude my friend because you're more concerned about the prejudices of your other customers than you are about basic human decency." By now, the entire restaurant was listening. Conversations had stopped, silverware had been set down, and all attention was focused on the confrontation near the entrance. Some diners looked uncomfortable with the scene, others appeared supportive of Ronaldo's position, and a few seemed embarrassed to be associated with an establishment that had just been exposed for discriminatory practices. "Let me tell you something about my friend Amari," Ronaldo said, turning to address not just Mendoza but the entire restaurant. He designed the Children's Hospital in Rabat that provides free medical care to thousands of families. He created the architectural plans for 3 schools in underprivileged communities that now educate over 2,000 children. He speaks Arabic, French, Spanish, English, and Portuguese fluently, and he has probably contributed more to society this year than most people do in a lifetime. Amari stood beside Ronaldo, clearly moved by his friend's defense, but also visibly uncomfortable with being the center of such public attention. He had dealt with discrimination before, but usually in more subtle forms, and he had never had someone so publicly and passionately defend him. "But even if none of that were true," Ronaldo continued, "even if Amari were just an ordinary person trying to enjoy a meal, your behavior would still be inexcusable. Human dignity is not something that people have to earn through achievements or prove through credentials. It's something they possess simply by being human." The speech was having a profound effect on everyone present. Several diners in the restaurant began to applaud, slowly at first, but then with growing enthusiasm. Others looked ashamed, either of their own prejudices or of being in an establishment that had just displayed such blatant discrimination. A few people stood up from their tables, clearly preparing to leave in protest of what they had witnessed. Mendoza, faced with the complete collapse of the evening and the very real possibility that the incident would damage his restaurant's reputation permanently, made one final attempt to salvage the situation. "Cristiano, please, I apologize profusely for any misunderstanding. Let me comp your entire evening, provide you with our finest wines, ensure that you and your friend have the most exceptional experience possible." Ronaldo looked at him with an expression of disdain that was more cutting than any angry words could have been. "Carlos, you still don't understand. This isn't about money or free meals or exceptional service. This is about the fact that you revealed something about yourself tonight that can't be taken back with apologies or complimentary wine. You showed me and everyone else in this restaurant that your principles are negotiable, that your respect for human dignity depends on calculations about business impact rather than basic morality." He turned to address the restaurant one final time. "To everyone here tonight, I want you to remember something. The way we treat people when we think no one is watching, the way we respond to those who are different from us, the choices we make when we have to choose between profit and principle, these things define who we really are. Tonight, you've seen who Carlos Mendoza really is. I hope you'll remember that." With that, Ronaldo took Amari's arm and began walking toward the exit. As they moved through the restaurant, something extraordinary happened. One by one, other diners began to stand up and follow them out. It started with a young couple who had been clearly moved by Ronaldo's speech, then spread to a family celebrating their own special occasion, then to a business group who had been dining in the corner. Within minutes, more than half the restaurant had emptied, as customers chose to leave in solidarity with Ronaldo's position. Outside the restaurant, a crowd had gathered as word of the incident spread through social media and news outlets. Videos of Ronaldo's speech were already going viral, and reporters were arriving to cover what was quickly becoming a major story. But Ronaldo and Amari walked past the crowds without stopping, heading to their car where they sat in silence for several minutes. "I'm sorry your birthday celebration was ruined," Ronaldo finally said to his friend. "You didn't deserve to be treated that way, and I should have chosen a different restaurant." Amari looked at his friend with deep emotion. "Cristiano, my birthday celebration wasn't ruined. What happened in there? The way you stood up for me, the speech you gave about human dignity, that was the greatest gift anyone has ever given me. Not because you defended me, but because you showed everyone in that room what real friendship looks like." They ended up having dinner at a small family-owned Moroccan restaurant in Amari's neighborhood, where the owner recognized them both and treated them not as celebrities, but as welcomed guests sharing a special meal. The food was simple but delicious. The atmosphere was warm and genuine, and the evening became one of the most memorable birthday celebrations either of them had ever experienced. The fallout from the incident at La Perla Dorada was swift and severe. The restaurant lost numerous reservations as the story spread. Several celebrity clients publicly announced they would no longer dine there, and food critics began to question whether culinary excellence could justify supporting an establishment with discriminatory practices. Within a month, Mendoza was forced to sell the restaurant to avoid bankruptcy. The new owners, a diverse group of young chefs committed to inclusive hospitality, renamed it Casa Abierta, Open House, and made it a point to welcome diners from all backgrounds and cultures. They hung a simple plaque near the entrance that read, "All are welcome here," because human dignity is not negotiable. Ronaldo never spoke publicly about the incident again, preferring to let his actions speak for themselves. But he did begin using his platform to highlight restaurants and businesses that demonstrated inclusive practices, and he made a point of celebrating his special occasions at establishments owned by immigrants and people from diverse backgrounds. The incident became a case study in business schools about the importance of inclusive practices and the risks of discrimination in the hospitality industry. But more importantly, It became a reminder that sometimes the most powerful moments happen not when famous people use their influence for personal gain, but when they risk their comfort and convenience to defend the dignity of others. Years later, when people asked Amari about his friendship with Ronaldo, he would always tell the story of that night at La Perla Dorada, not because it showed how famous his friend was, but because it demonstrated the kind of man Ronaldo was when fame and friendship collided with injustice. It was a night when a birthday celebration became a lesson in human decency, and when two friends discovered that the most important tables are the ones where everyone is welcome to sit.